Hello, people. I finished a book, When Women Ruled the World. I've actually been done with this book for like over a week. For a while I was doing really good. I thought it would be a good idea to do these videos right when I finished the book, but I don't know, for multiple reasons, I never did this video. Mostly because it's dark by the time I get home from work and I get my shit together, and I do all my little chores and everything. It's dark outside, so if I come outside and do a video, it's dark. Anyways, before I do this video, it's early in the morning. I have had breakfast, but I'm going to do a shot of blackberry flavored brandy. I don't like vodka, and I don't even know if we have any vodka here, but I just learned, I watched a little tiny video from Inside Edition that one of my favorite YouTubers has passed away. I have lived longer than him. I don't think I ever had any kind of a conversation with this guy, but Apetor, or Apator, has died. He was this Norwegian guy that went swimming in icy lakes, and he always did his signature thing. Besides him going eep eep, he did a lot of funny things. But he went swimming in lakes, and it looks like he may have passed away from complications of hypothermia. So, you know what? Here's to Apetor. And now to the book. I don't care that much about English history. This was mostly about English history, about Mary Queen of Scots, Elizabeth. There was also some woman in France. There was Catherine of Aragon. When Women Ruled the World is not really all that accurate. England was hardly a world power at that time. I spent a lot of this book thinking, wow, man, there's a shitload of interesting things going on right now, and this author is not mentioning any of them. She did, towards the end, talk about the Spanish in the New World with the Aztecs and the Inca. They talked a little bit about Drake, and I thought this author was going to go the whole book without even mentioning Drake and the Spanish Armada. But as I'm reading this book, I'm thinking, I'm going to have to get a book about Charles V. I know a little bit about Philip II, who was I thought he was kind of a crazy guy. I'll probably have to get a book about him. You have to be careful because you really don't want biographies, because, man, fuck, biographies will spend the first 100 pages on somebody's grandparents and shit. I don't give a crap about that. This is the second book that my son had bought me. So, of course, I feel obligated to read it, and I did read it. It took me, 10 days to read this book. It's only 251 pages. This is a very new book. It was published in 2021. My first note says Habsburg. Ugh. I still do not understand why some people write Habsburg when it's Habsburg with a B. The beginning of the book is this author, Maureen Quilligan. It's her attempt to convince me that historians have conspired, and I'm sure historians are primarily men. Historians have conspired to minimize the role of powerful women in the world, and I do not agree. I'm sorry, but I don't agree. Second paragraph, page 112. I'm still a little bit in shock about Aptor. The only other sacrament, they're talking about Protestants and Catholics. The only other sacrament the two churches still shared was communion, but that ceremony had become the fraught flashpoint of the catastrophic conflicts over the nature of the host. That is, the communion wafer served to the faithful during the worship service. Wars were fought and martyrs were burned alive over what it meant to take the host to eat. Was it to ingest a transubstantiation of the actual sacrificed body of Christ, or rather to perform a Protestant memorial of the sacrifice of Christ? According to the Catholic Church, only the celibate priesthood was endowed with the power to transubstantiate the flesh of Christ beneath the appearance of the communion wafer. And I've noted these before, where some pope said that yes, this actually is the flesh of Christ, which would kind of make us cannibals. Protestants may have mocked this power by calling it hocus pocus, or a childish game of magic and deception. And here in parentheses it says, the expression hocus pocus, still with us today as a sign of magic, may have derived from a corruption of the Latin words, of course I'm going to butcher this, hoc est enim corpus meum. And in parentheses again it says, this is even my body. Said by the priest during the Mass when the communion bread and wine are turned into the body and blood of Christ. I don't normally read the acknowledgments in a book, but I saw that COVID was there in bold letters, and yeah, she discussed COVID a little bit, making it more difficult to do research in libraries. And my last little note here is bottom of 155, top of 156. It was somewhat of an ordeal to finish this book, but I did it. The author really spends a lot of time on these little gifts that these queens sent to each other and gave to each other. Solid gold baptismal fonts, pearls and jewelry, and why was there so much hanging cloth in northern houses? Art historians have suggested that tapestry, which was the most expensive form of art in the Renaissance, taking the greatest number of hours of manual labor, was Northern Europe's answer to the Mediterranean art form of fresco, which mixed paint into the wet plaster that is put directly on the stone walls. A block of color in a fresco might take only a few minutes to paint, but to fill the same amount of space with tapestry could take hours, if not days, to weave, each square foot taking many passes of the weaver's hands. However, the cold stone of great house construction in the north of England would not be as suitable for plasterwork as were the walls of structures in a more temperate climate like Italy's. Also, importantly, the hanging cloths would themselves be an aid in insulating the English homes against heat loss. So the works of art were functional as well as beautiful. And I mark that not only because it's interesting, but because I had independently figured that out, that it was kind of like a little design on a knife. It was non-utilitarianism combined with something that is utilitarian. You can use it. It's covering up a cold wall, but it's also useless. Something that you just look at. Thanks for looking, and if you've ever watched an Aptor video, do a shot today in honor of that great, great man.